All right, Legacy League, if you even remotely like football, and I know you all more than remotely like football, week 3 was definitely for you. We had huge upsets. We had massive blowouts. We had pop culture mixes, tons to talk about. For me, I was in the mountains with the in-laws visiting, but I still managed to hold on, even with the Jays in the playoffs. Lots going on. Let's get right to it, which week 3 in the NFL. Putting fantasy slightly on the sidelines, let's look at week 3 stories. And for this week, you can't get past Miami. Now, that is also a fantasy story because if you were playing someone who had someone from Miami, or most people from Miami, or had some on your bench in your lineup, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But 10 touchdowns. You get 35 and 35 even going. The numbers and the stats, if you care at all to take a look at it, they're through the roof. Having 2 4-touchdown players, having, well, 3 if you include a quarterback, but 4 in terms of skill, or 2 in terms of skill players. Having somebody have effectively 80 yards rushing, 4 touchdowns, 60 yards receiving, and being the second highest running back on their team. A-Chain coming out and literally getting maybe 1 fantasy point in the first 2 weeks, and now he's the RB5. He's the 5th highest scoring RB in most formats. Even more impressive, I just watching the score, it was reminded me of years ago in the World Cup when I think the Brazil-Germany game where all of a sudden it just started in one way and you just kind of saw it soaring and poor Brazil just couldn't get anything by. I even remember in high school back when Florida State was doing all the illegal stuff and everyone knew it, but we hadn't called them on it yet. They started off the college season against BYU, and I believe the announcer actually said as the kickoff was happening, well, this one's almost over. I've never seen that in the NFL before. 10 touchdowns. Making Sean Payton's return to Denver not look super great. Maybe he has to go back and film a new Netflix story. Kevin Smith probably is embarrassed to even be in a movie where he was supposed to be associated with him. Maybe the worst choice for a biopic since the octopus humping guy. I actually haven't seen that one. I'm assuming that's what it's about. Next up, pop culture and football coming together. I'm not going to talk about it too much. I'll make some references to it later on. But obviously people know Taylor Swift was in the booth to watch Travis Kelce. She has to be the smartest marketer I've ever seen. Now, maybe they're in a relationship and this is true love, but she is tackling demographics like no one I've ever seen. I mean, she's already got a certain population of youth, and I think there's an age group where everyone below at least knows of her and probably follows her way more than people above. What didn't she have leading into this summer? Dads or parents. To hear the amount of stories of especially dads probably that were taking their kids to Taylor Swift concerts all summer long, the buzz was getting bigger. Now she's winning over football fans. If you've been on any social media platform, all we're hearing is apparently now Swifties care about football and they're going to somehow change or revolutionize doesn't matter. Jersey sales, I think Kelsey's number 2 now in the league. You can't match her enthusiasm, her business savvy. Absolutely killing it. But then to drop an F-bomb in front of Kelsey's mom, I don't even think a script could be as great as this. On to actual football stuff. For those of us who've been watching football for a while, it's not abnormal to have the NFL go a little bit crazy. Week 10, week 12, we start seeing some teams fall or overlook teams, and there's some upsets or huge blowouts or big scores. Week 3 is kind of new. I can't remember the last time it was this crazy this early, and we have so few undefeated teams left. But if we were in the 80s, we'd probably say something like NFL's on crack, but that's because it was. Now I'd say maybe NFL is just trying to explore itself and figure out who it is and maybe not be so pigeonholed to labels. But either way, if you were someone who had A-Chain on your bench, which is probably everybody who had A-Chain, now you got to look at every bench player as a maybe 70-pointer that's just waiting to bloom. So I don't think there's any bad starts or bad sits coming into week 4. So before we get to week 4, however, let's take a look at week 3 and our matchups. All right, matchups for week 3. We had the battle of 2 formidable opponents. It came down not to the very end, like a matchup we'll talk about later, but congrats to Gene for coming out and pushing another 200. He saw Marcos and thought it looked so good, he wanted to give it a shot. Woody, unlucky, 157 would have won you a bunch of games. I think you're actually 4th best in the league and just barely over number 3 or under number 3. So you would have beaten most of people, but you didn't beat Gene this week. And how do you do it? That dynamic duo in San Diego / LA Chargers there. Herbert was actually in this league the number 1. That's not all in all formats. So just to let you know, he was our QB1. Allen was by far our QB2. Having Samuel, so obviously your receivers were good. Believing in Houston is paying off for you. This is the first week also TJ Hawkinson didn't necessarily get you in the top 5 in terms of tight ends, but I believe he was 6th in our format. So a few people who underperformed, but not drastically. Everyone did what they should for the most part. Even your defense stepped up a little bit. So well done there, Gene. A hard-earned, but a well-earned victory, and you even left a few points on the bench, although you made most of the good calls. Woody, unlucky here, pal. You had good quarterback play, and obviously you took advantage of Miami's booming points. You had our RB2 that would have been an RB1 in any other week. We will get to him in a second. Kelly's really letting you down. He hasn't really stepped up. He was one of the only Chargers that didn't, the commonly played Chargers that didn't really score for you. Brown tried to fight for you on Monday night, and Nico just couldn't do what he did last week, and I think that's what it came down to. Stevenson ran against surprisingly still good Jets defense. So unlucky for you. You are still fighting the injury bug, so the fact that you're making it this close with 2 massive guys still out. Edwards, I believe, also got hurt, so let's see if he comes back. So keep picking up people, and hopefully they keep getting hurt so the rest of us can just watch you cycle through. But let's be honest, you've already probably made about 6 waiver requests, so my assumption is you're already well onto it. So unlucky there. You did suffer your first loss, Maddie, but you haven't fallen too far. And Gene, congratulations on being our number 1 and currently, number 1 scorer this week and our overall number 2. Well done, buddy. All right, this week it looks like I'm the second highest scorer, and while Kent did put up a decent fight, I just got lucky that he still thinks Chicago can do anything, because unfortunately, buddy, the Bears let you down once again. I'll go through just quickly. I mean, I'm one of the few people who got a win this week who did not have a Dolphin, but in the same vein, I had, except for my tight end pickup, which, of course, Pitts went and outscored the guy that I picked up for him. God, that guy just hates me. I had a few letdowns for the most part, bringing up Tank Dell at the last minute. I'm taking advantage of Houston as well. So my receivers were fine. Kenneth Walker having a huge second half and Cook doing all right certainly helped me out. My quarterbacks 50-50. One's doing all right, one's not so much. Jackson was actually our quarterback 3, I believe, this week. Lawrence was definitely not. For Reschke, like I said, Hill going off for him certainly helps, and he's getting some help with DK and Sanders, and Allen's having a good game for him. The 2 biggest things that let him down: number 1, who saw Dallas and Arizona coming? If you say you did, you're lying. You're definitely lying. Everyone would have taken Dallas's defense. Honestly, who here is an elimination pool and then Dallas just took them out of it? I'd be curious to know. But Fields is doing what Fields has been doing. Herbert is not getting much love. Moore is still scoring for you, so leave him in. But dude, on your bench here, you might have some other options. Unfortunately, the massagist himself actually had a decent game in Cleveland. Although, again, I understand not wanting to play him so much, but if he's there, you might as well. Me, I parked my Ford in the garage, unfortunately. I fought for him on waiver wires, and I just wasn't sure how Cleveland was going to use him. Apparently, Cleveland likes running the ball. I probably should have known that. I do get a little bit of help because I believe I have we'll see what kind of shape he's in, but I believe Kamara returns for week 4. So I should have some running back depth to maybe counteract the fact that I can't seem to get all my receivers healthy in 1 week. So sorry, buddy. You fought hard, and again, you definitely would have beaten some people this week, but you didn't beat me. I was the second highest scorer, so I'm 2-1, but still out of the top 4. We got a high scoring league, kids. All right, 3rd highest scoring team of the week, but they are our number 1. Our 3-0 Connor and Seamus are holding strong. Tight matchup, and they probably were sweating it out for parts of it, but how'd they do it? Mainly with Buffalo. Diggs obviously is still doing what he should, but that Buffalo defense, come on, that sucks. 9 sacks and 4 picks. We'll get to the quarterback on the other end of that, but if you get 30 points, this is the second time we've had a 30-plus point performance by a defense. My goodness. Everyone else just kind of did what they should. You certainly had a few underperformers this week, so you kind of needed the defense. Swift is really helping you out the last couple weeks, though. Got to tell you, though, pal, you're leaving a lot on your bench, but I get it. You got depth. I wouldn't have thought Judy would have a decent game, but Connor's been good for a bit. Moss was our RB3, I believe. And Jordan Love's been consistent, man. He wasn't a top 5. He was no Andy Dalton this week. Side note, he was our 5th quarterback in our scoring, and he is a free agent if you want to get hungry. But you're doing enough, man. You're our number 1 seed once again. You've carried it on since the last week, so let's see how long you can hold the belt for. Dilbert, unlucky, pal. I know I've said it for a couple people, but you certainly wouldn't have beaten a couple people this week. Purdy's doing great for you. Etienne bounced back, which was great. Cooper had his best week. Kittle had a top. I think he was our tight end 4. this week. And Kansas City is a sneaky defense. People all, just pay attention to Mahomes and the offense, but they're actually doing quite well as well, although anyone can look decent against Chicago. So let's not spike the ball too hard on that one. Your wide receivers, though, let you down, and I think Monty being out was ultimately something that stuck on you. If he did what he'd normally been doing and you had a few other, maybe your wide receivers helped you out a bit, could have snuck one on our number one seed. But as it stands, you're not our only winless person, so you're not at the bottom of the league quite yet, and certainly there's time to play. So best of luck in the future there, Jeff. We're hoping you bounce back for a win next week, unless you're playing me. And once again, holding the belt, holding the title, and holding our top spot. Congratulations, Connor and Seamus. All right, I'm trying to avoid the joke of the blowout of the week is anyone who plays Tim. Got to say, though, Tim, everybody you started played, everybody got points. Look at that, all around, just not a lot of points. And unfortunately, you kind of fell out of the gates there. Your running backs just did not help you. And then the aforementioned Buffalo's defense, slinging Sammy Howell, as I think I referred to him last week, might be in a sling after taking all those hits. Not all his fault. That line just was folding over backwards. Obviously, you've got Jefferson, and you're going to get some points there, but this was just unlucky for you. We're waiting to see. There's no way you can keep this luck going, this consistency. Although, remember, you still got to win, so things could get worse. Maxon, you came out and actually scored quite high here, just over your predicteds. Chase finally looked like he was worth the pursuit. McCaffrey, obviously, always in our top 5 or 6, so he was our running back 5 this week. I think Cousins, again, I think he was our quarterback 4, so I think that's every week he's been in the top 5. Sneaky pick there, making it up for some of the guys who haven't quite stepped up yet. We look at your benches, they wouldn't have made a huge impact, but I will say you had our running back 1 in A-Chain. I can't blame you, but I have him in another league on my bench. There was no way I was going to play him, and I actually needed a running back, but God, it does hurt to see that many points on the bench. And then Laporta was actually our tight end 1. So, Tim, things could be looking up for you. Apparently, you got the talent. You just got to make sure everyone gets in the lineup next week, and let's see what happens. So, unfortunate, Tim, but remember, you still got your win, so you're very much in the hunt. Maxon goes to 2-1 and starts to climb, so best of luck moving forward, pal. All right, our 5th, but our closest matchup. When the difference is less than 5 points, in this case, if 4.4, my calculator or my head tells me, Marco sneaks one out, stays in the top 4 in the league, and unfortunately means that Rennie is still in the Ofer club. How did it happen? To be honest, Rennie, I wouldn't panic too much. Aside from, Mooney showing you his ass on that one and giving you a 0, you actually had some consistency. Your running backs came back to you. Mike Williams, unfortunately, your kiss of death this year. You are the injury haven. Whoever you touch, half of them seem to go down. I hear he's out for pretty much the year, but he did perform for you beforehand. So you probably did enough to be competitive here. Unfortunately, you bumped up against Adams, who just went off. He was our wide receiver 2 because Allen did have that game. And he was almost enough on his own. Combine that with Pollard doing what he should. Evans still going. I'm telling you, he's going for the 1,000 yards and then he's going to quit. It made up for the fact that your quarterbacks, Marco, were nicht so good, as they say in German. Garrett Wilson, we can't blame him. He doesn't have a quarterback to throw to him. And the Jets against New England, they didn't allow a lot of points, but they didn't do a whole lot else either. But hey, man, a win is a win is a win, and being 2-1 in top 4, I would take it. You did leave a few points on the bench, so let's not burn the fire down just quite yet. And in terms of Rennie, Fryermuth actually went off for you. Unfortunately, you didn't have him in there because, you had Kelsey here who, second week in a row, found some blank space in the end zone, scores a touchdown. That's 2 for 2. And obviously, I'm making a reference there because he's being more famous for everything he's doing or what he's doing off the court or off the field. Akers coming back in a new uniform next week. Who knows what that's going to look like? Ayuk hopefully coming back from injury. So I think you got some promise here, but maybe hit the waiver wire and let's see what happens. I don't like Ofer people, and I know you don't like being Ofer, so let's see how you bounce back in week 4. Best of luck. But till then, Marco, you're top 4. You're still ready to make a run, so congrats, buddy. All right, as we go from week 3, over to week 4, we got some good matchups here. We got, point-wise, I'm not going to take that at value because I know people haven't adjusted their roster. Tim and Rennie, Tim, I know you got your win. Maybe you'll be charitable and give you one to give a freebie to Rennie to get him out of the basement. Or maybe you're just going to be that team, Rennie, that just inspires greatness in your opponent. I'm not really sure how that goes. I draw Dibbler, so he'll be looking to get out of the Ofer club. So when I said good luck to you in the future about doing that, I meant week 5, not week 4. We got Marco and Kent bouncing up against each other. Side note, I didn't mention it in the recap because I was going to be classy, but I'm not classy. When someone flips you off in their league name and you beat them, I gotta tell you, it's a little warm and fuzzy. We do have some epic matchups in the basement down here, though. Not in the basement of our league, just at the bottom of the screen. Woody and Maxon going head to head. I would imagine maybe there's some friendly banter, maybe a side bet somewhere on the side here. It's meant to be close. Then we got our top two. All right, with our best scoring 2-1 against our undefeated and our current belt holder. So is Gene for real, and is he going to make a run for this league, or is Connor and Seamus just going to hold things down as they have for pretty much the last year and a half at the top of our league standings? We can take a look here. Not surprisingly, we got people who make the moves. Rushke's still yet to make a move, and maybe there's some moves to be made, buddy. Maybe get on that waiver wire. Maybe less of dub errors. Just throwing it out there, trying to help you out now that we played each other. All right, that's going to wrap up week 3. Week 4, just to let you know, if things go well, I am starting my travel now, so some of you will hear from me the following week. I don't go this week. We got some family trips I have to do first, or get to do first, not have to. I'll be in Chiang Mai recording, hopefully, this time next week, so let's see how that works. Till then, only 2 things I'm going to mention. I mean, Thursday night, but it is the Packers and Lions, and you actually have some of those people, I think, so take a look at your roster. But the big one on Sunday, I believe. Check the schedule to make sure I'm not making this up. I think it is the first of 2 weeks back-to-back that Jacksonville Jaguars are in the UK. So take a look at that. Remember, those games do start a few hours early, so whatever you do on your Sundays, just make sure that those ones are all set, and then rosters obviously still lock at the same time. Alrighty, crew. Can't wait to see what this next week holds. It is as crazy as week 3, or is week 4 going to be back to normalcy? Who cares as long as you get a win, right? So till then, best of luck, crew.